Good morning, Grace Tribe. I think we are running correctly. I hope everyone is having a great start to your day. You may, like me, have been big on vision. There may be some cultural things and some business things and some institutional things and some educational things that have driven you into a you just must vision it mindset. And I'm just here to tell you that just doesn't always work. I've got a comments problem. Like, Mike, do a better job and you'll get better comments. No. There. I wanted to see the comments as they're coming, at least some of them. There's a lot of, anyway, different story. The service that I use is adding stuff onto the screen, and it's just, I can see like one comment at a time now. We're going to look into episode number 868 today, beginning with grace. Not the end in mind, except for the end that is always in grace in mind. I don't know about you, but things do not work out as I'd like. Things don't work out as I'd like. I'd like to not be in pain. I'd like all my bills to be easily paid. I'd like to presume upon God's plan for me and my friends and my family, my finances, I guess all the F alliteration. I would like to presume upon God's plan. And so we've been told to visualize the outcome with greater clarity, to cast the vision, to reverse engineer our dream. I wrote that down. I thought that was pretty good, to reverse engineer the dream. But what happens when the finish line that you have in mind ghosts you mid-race? And we're not talking about running here. We're talking about life. It's not the way you thought it would be with your family. It's not the way you thought it would be with your career. It's not the way you thought it would be with your health. What if the goal was never the one you imagined? What if you're wrong about the end game you're imagining? Where does vision for your life turn into imagining or wishing or trying to direct God's activity for your life? What if it was never the one you imagined? What if the end you should have in mind was a God who already knows how it ends? What if he's the one we need a greater vision of? Let me say it pretty plainly here. What if it is God that you need a clearer vision of? We're going to talk today in this episode about what it means to begin with the grace in mind. What if we're not meant to have a clearer vision of the outcomes of our life? What if culture pretending you can imagine things, will things, envision things, into manifest things into your reality? Friends, I love you. That's just bunk. God is not giving up his sovereignty, and you are not directing his hand. God is not giving up his sovereignty. He is not making you more sovereign. And he is not giving up his hand in your life. He is not working on your outcome. He's working on your trust. And so we're going to talk today about another Coveyism, to be honest. I am a big fan of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And yesterday we were talking about one of those things, about being proactive. And we talked about where you're responsible and where you are not, to trust God with what you don't have influence over. And as you operate within your sphere of influence, he can increase your influence into areas of concern. But we can complain about the messiness of the world and not wipe off our own counters, not make our own bed, not take care of our own stuff, our own relationships. Maybe you're a mess. How can you complain about the world being a mess? And listen, that's okay. You got to do that work with God, but you got to realize that you are not responsible for the world. You're freer than that, nor can you handle the pressure of that. So how about we walk with the I am in the right now and be proactive, take initiative as leaders and shepherds to be available for what God is doing in the moment? How about we be present with him in this in the now, the I am in the now, right here. What if this is what he's calling you to? What if this moment with you and I and, 1,000 of our closest friends, what if this is the moment that you are called to? This is it. Don't miss what he wants for you, which is him to be known to you in this moment. Don't miss this moment. Be proactive. Take initiative. That was yesterday. And so go back and catch it if you missed it. Today, I want to talk about this idea of beginning with the end in mind and reverse engineering what that looks like. I was a business consultant for years when this content was becoming popular, and having worked with scores of executives and corporations and institutions, I got to tell you, vision is not what it's cracked up to be. It's not a bad idea. It's just not up to you. Coming up with a vision is not really your job. I'm going to make some people mad, people who are like me, who don't like hearing that. So we're going to talk about what this really means. My friend, what about you having a clearer vision of God instead of trying to imagine with positivity the outcome you want him to bring about? What if he's not working on the outcome? What if he's sovereign and knows the end from the beginning? What if instead he wants you to have a clearer vision of him? Then instead of beginning with the end in mind and you figuring out how to make it happen, there's a place for that. But what if most of our life and most of our circumstances is not you manifesting what it is you want to be true? You are not the determiner. You're not the cause of what is true, but you can discern what is true if you're willing to receive it for whatever it might be as God reveals it. What if it's not the end you need to have in mind? What if it's grace so that you can know him in the process? This is going to be a great talk. I'm really glad you're here, my friends. And boy, I'm excited. I'm excited about this talk. I'm excited about some things we're doing in ministry. I'm excited for what God is doing in your life and the invitation to intimacy that he's inviting you into today. Today, he is extending to you a moment as an invitation to know him more. That's the end you get to have in mind. So let's talk about it. Glad you're here. Hope you have something cozy to drink. I do. My coffee's really good this morning. I hope yours is too. Let's do this. Here we go. Awakening souls to our life in Christ. My name is Mike Q. Daniel, and we are celebrating all that we have in Christ Jesus by grace. Be sure to share your questions or prayer requests at MikeQDaniel.com. And I want to welcome you to Mike Q. Daniel Live with the Grace Tribe. Good morning, Grace Tribe. Welcome to episode 868, beginning with the grace in mind. Friends, the end isn't your outcome. It's God's goodness, guaranteed every time and twice on Tuesday. So if you've been told to visualize your outcome and manifest what you desire in life, I'm just here to tell you, you're barking up the wrong spiritual tree. That's bad theology at best and a distraction of the enemy, not just at worst, but most likely. A couple of days ago, actually it was yesterday after the broadcast, my glasses are really smudgy. I don't know if you can see that. They're I don't know what, pollen blast or something, and they're just gross. So I went and pulled out some old, the spray that you get. I pulled out this old spray to clean my glasses, and I squirted my glasses, and it reeked. It stunk so bad. Here I am, literally, this happens. I'm trying to clean my glasses so that I can see better, and what I got instead was fumigated by stinky, rotten cleaner smell. Wow, it was bad. It stunk up the whole, it's in my bathroom, and so it stunk up the whole bathroom. It's like, wow, I had to throw it away and leave the room for a minute. It was so bad. It just stunk. It just reeked. It was so rank. And, I'm wiping off the glasses and, then they smell. And so finally I get them cleaned off a little bit and put it back on. And today they're smudgy again. They're totally like, it made no difference. It just made them stink. Sometimes you trying to figure out better vision just makes things stink more. True story, but it sure did fit with our topic today. My glasses are still smudgy. They just smell bad and they're smudgy. As a business consultant for years and working with executives in all kinds of industry, I used to think that vision was everything. Got to have a clear vision. You don't have a clear vision. You don't know where you're going. No one else does. Without it, nothing worked. There's some usefulness to that. And in aligning team members and personal agenda, undermining teams when they aren't aligned well together. Morale is low because people have conflicting values and plans. You got to define the target. You've got to map the milestones. You've got to create a project or a business or a family or a life that makes sense. In a pitch deck. Do you know what that is? Like a set of PowerPoint slides. And yeah, I may or may not have had charts. In fact, even from a spiritual perspective, from a church ministry perspective, I talk to leaders all the time, and I have a very different set of diagrams. I'll just tell you that. I do have diagrams, but they're all about what God is doing and how we participate, and that gives us a vision. It's a very different path to vision for our life. Because, my friend, the more you try to clarify outcomes, the stinkier your circumstances may become. Core values. Great. Where are those coming from? Are you deciding what you value? Are you deciding what you wish your vision could be? Are you trying to think your way into outcomes? I've seen many a mission statement stolen from what could have been Hallmark cards or coffee shop walls. But deep down, my end in mind in most of those scenarios, at least in the corporate world, wasn't eternity. It was a version of peace that I could control. It was an outcome that I was trying to produce. It was my way of gaining control and sovereignty and producing what I wanted, or bringing about outcomes that I had hope in instead of him. A version of joy that I could pre-schedule, a version of worth that I could earn, publish, retire into. And then life happened, real life. And I discovered that God really does not want you to presume upon his plan. He wants you to presume upon his personhood, who he is, not what he will do. My finish line wandered off without leaving a forwarding address. Oh, maybe it's not going to go the way I envisioned and manifested. I had to ask, what's the point now? What's the vision when the vision won't return my phone calls, right? And that's when God started to whisper to my heart, maybe you've been aiming for the wrong, quote, end, air quotes for the podcast listeners, air quotes around end. Maybe what you thought was the end was never the end. It might not even be real. What if you trust me? What if the end game is not your circumstantial outcome, but your Christ life dependence? Maybe what we need is not clarity of outcomes. Maybe what we need is clarity of God in Christ, in you. Let's be honest for a minute. We want to begin with the end in mind, but only if we get to write the ending. If someone said the end of this is you're going to be in pain, would you go, hey, let's begin with the pain in mind? Lose a loved one. You're going to be in grief. Let's begin with the grief in mind. What if the circumstantial end isn't what you want it to be? Envisioning outcomes doesn't increase your sovereignty to cause them to produce the life you wish God would give you. We crave predictability. We want our pain to be part of a plan towards something that we see in advance is worth the effort. We want our investment in this moment, what it costs us, to come with a clear return policy of what we're going to get in exchange for what it costs. And what God is working on is us trusting him, not causing his hand to produce the outcomes that we want. Listen, usually in our immaturity, because we are God's children, not his partner in, you're not the managing partner of your life. You're the child in the life that God has given you, and he's the dad. We spiritualize the outcomes that we want to be our source. This job, this relationship, this circumstance, this calamity is going to go this way. And here's how I'm going to reverse engineer that to bring that about. And what we think of as strategy is really our trying to wrestle more control of the outcome, more sovereignty for ourselves for what we falsely think will meet our needs. And that, my friends, is idolatry of self and circumstances. We'll spiritualize it all. We'll call it direction and name it calling and even call it trust if we don't see the difference. I'm trusting God for what I'm going to do in this circumstance. Yeah, until the bottom drops out and he's going, maybe you don't get to determine what I'm going to do. Maybe you're meant to trust me so that you can know me, so you can grow in me, so I can work through you out of your availability, not your neediness. Most of our vision is more like a Pinterest board of safety and mood and security and wishfulness, well lit and theologically endorsed by our faux theology one-line Twitterisms. Most of our vision is just a Pinterest board of solical wishfulness. Jan is saying, I'm confused. Is planning wrong? Absolutely not. Planning is not wrong. Planning is how we determine what we're going to do next until God redirects us. And then how do we feel? Planning is not wrong, but putting your hope in your plan instead of in God is a very real danger in our day and age. We are so self-sufficient and so capable of producing 83% of what we want in our circumstances and our relationships, that one, if it doesn't go our way, then we feel like we must be doing something wrong in our relationship with God because he's not doing what I want. I got so close and he pulled the rug out from under me. Or two, I just think I need to work a little harder, do a little bit more, and I can get more of my way. So planning isn't wrong, but hope in my plan instead of in Christ in me, regardless of my plan, is a very real and increasingly modern issue because of the self-sufficiency of the age in which we live. You don't find this as much in third world countries. You go to, when I was in India or in Nepal or in the Philippines or Tibet or wherever I've been in mission work, Mexico, wherever I have been, where the needs are more urgent, then people have less hope in their plan and just fall upon the grace of God. Like, God, you're going to have to take care of this. There's less of an issue with, I'm going to determine what I want, because they're so far from being able to do that. They just have to depend upon God. Maybe the best thing for you is to run into some Red Sea moments where only God can get you out. Realize God led the Israelites into the dead end of the Red Sea. He led them there. Pillar of fire, pillar of cloud, dead end. Death behind you, death in front of you. What are you going to do now? Maybe our hope is not in how well we manage the captors and overcome our own problems. Maybe we just got to see what God's going to do. No one was thinking, God, part the Red Sea. Hadn't even occurred to them. So if our vision is not that, it's often this self-made spirituality of manifesting, like I'm going to believe it until it's true. Your believing something doesn't make it true. No amount of faith in a broken chair makes it hold you up. No amount in the false idea of God makes him do what you want. There is no you want to know what manifesting really is? It's either God doing it or you playing God. Speak it, visualize it, call it into existence. But scripture never says that we become what we imagine or cause what we wish. It says we are transformed as we behold him in 2 Corinthians 3:18. It says that we fear the Lord as the beginning of wisdom, not the end of delay in getting what we want. Proverbs 9:10 says. You don't get to think your way into God's chair, but you can rest in his indwelling presence. Faith doesn't fabricate a future. Faith is not fabricating a future. Please meditate on this. Faith is not fabricating your preferred future. It's trusting a Father. It's about him, not about you. It's about him. Now, he's all about you, so you don't have to be. No amount of positive energy, vibing right. None of that is going to substitute for the presence of the I am. You stop vibing. I got to get my frequencies right. How about you just trust God? Let him be God. You don't have to be God. My friends, you are not meant to get better at controlling or causing or producing what only Jesus Christ can do in and through you. You want an end you can imagine and manage. But scripture invites us into something better. Scripture is inviting you today into something better, not a strategy for certainty, but a relationship that you can stake your soul on, your experience in, a fruit that he's going to produce, not the circumstances make easy. God will say to you today, I will be enough at the end. Even if the end isn't what you expected, even if the finish line is to the left and not straight ahead, even if things are not what you wished your circumstances would be, your hope is not in the circumstances, your hope is in me, and you will know me more, you will grow in grace, you will be equipped to love like crazy. I am the fruit bringer, you are the fruit bearer. My friends, with Christ in you already by grace, the end is always grace. It's always him. It's always Christ in you. Where's your hope today? Isn't how well you're going to do at getting your needs met? Are you having a vision for what you can accomplish if God just, opens a couple of doors, then you can climb through and do what you need to do and get her done? Maybe he just wants you to trust him. Maybe it's relational and God's already enough. God is not offering you a guaranteed timeline. He's not offering you a guaranteed outcome, except for his grace, for his glory, that you get to participate into the joy and satisfaction of your soul. Let's warm up to a God who's in control that isn't you. What he's offering you is himself. In Revelation 22, verse 13, he says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I've got it on a ring. I put my ring on my way to the broadcast today. I'd like to have it going the other way. I have a ring. It's a Greek Alpha and Omega. I wear it pretty much every day. I'm the Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Revelation 22:13 says, the goal of our life is not a destination. At the end, we will discover what we've had since the beginning. It is God by grace for his glory in you, and you get to participate in the glory of God by grace and grace alone. The goal of your life is not a destination. It's not an outcome. It's not a circumstance. It's a person. The goal of our life is not a destination or a circumstance or how you're wanting a need to be met. The goal of our life is a person. He's not promising that you'll get what you wish your circumstances would look like. He promises that he will be the I am of your need. He will be and is, and you'll increasingly know him as the I am of your need. I have some insecurities in this life, and God is not wanting them to go away because my circumstances are better or I'm more effective or everybody responds the way I want. He's wanting me to trust him instead of wanting those outcomes. What if at the end of a circumstantially horrible day, you knew Christ is your life more and the hopes of your circumstances less? Is that a good day? Psalm 65, verse 11 says, you, speaking to God, you crown the year with your goodness. How's that for an end? And your paths drip with abundance. His paths drip with abundance. Not always yours, but always good. His paths. What if God isn't revealing what he's going to do? He's wanting you to trust who he is. He's not just the God of eventual outcomes. He's the God who walks into every unknown to prove himself trustworthy along the way. The God you know is better than the outcome you want. The God you get to know is better than the outcome that you want. He's proving himself trustworthy and inviting you into intimacy, and that is his only end game for you. And as you trust him, what he's going to do through you is going to bring other people into a greater awareness of the sufficiency of his grace to actually give up hope in all but him. This is holy action. We started talking about yesterday. Not hustling for heaven's favor, not striving for story control. How do I control the outcomes? But entering into each moment like God's already in it, because he is. He's the I am of every need. He is not the I am of every circumstantial desire. We've got to stop teaching people that if you trust God, you get what you want from him. You're not God. You get what will satisfy your soul, but you're mostly wrong about what that is. He's enough. He's enough. He's enough. So, my friend, let's begin with grace in mind, not guarantees in hand. If your theology is guaranteeing outcomes, then your theology is wrong. If your theology is about material blessing, then your theology is wrong. If your theology is about physical fitness and wellness, then your theology is wrong. You are going to pass from this life and your soul and spirit will live forever. God is bringing you into relational life with him through his son. It is about intimacy in knowing and experiencing and being available with and participating in the very work of God through you. It's his fruitfulness and intimacy with you. It's relational, not transactional. There is no magical key that if you follow the steps, you get to open the door to everything you wish this life looked like. That's putting your hope in this false, fleeting, worldly circumstance. And you can have great hope, but it's as often as not, despite the circumstances, not in the circumstances. It's Christ in you in the circumstance, not Christ giving you the circumstance that you think will meet your need. Most people who get the things you're wishing for from your circumstances are more miserable than you have ever been. What if your vision isn't a 5-year plan, but a 5-word prayer? Jesus, be enough to me. Jesus, be enough for me, to me, in me, through me. Choose your preposition. Jesus, be enough. Jesus, be enough for me. What if you don't need a 5-year plan? What if you at least first need a 5-word prayer? And of course, he is enough for you. It's you who aren't convinced, not God. He is not leaving you hanging. He's inviting you into intimacy. You're already in perfect relational fellowship with him, but as you're trying to live from everything but him, you're missing out on the very intimacy that he's provided. Intimacy is the experience of the closeness that he's already provided. You're not getting closer to him, but you can experience a lot more intimacy as you trust him and are vulnerable with him and available to him and participating with him. That's what brings about intimacy. Lots of people are married and have no intimacy. Lots of people hang out with folks but have no intimate friendships because there's no vulnerability, because there's no trust. Jan, I love that. She says, you might be surprised what I'm wishing for. I want to know Jesus. I think that's perfect. Me too. I often have a vision for my life that isn't just about me knowing him more. So this is not condemning. This is correcting. This is my love for people going, let's stop putting God's name on our wish list and let's start going, whatever you do, your character will be made clear. What if you gained clarity of God? What if that's the vision we need to pursue? What if your goal isn't a timeline, but a person that's always on time? What if you don't need perfect clarity of everything? You just need relational certainty of Christ in you. What if that's the clarity that you need? Paul wrote to the Corinthians in 2 Corinthians 5:7, he says, we walk by faith, not by sight. What if our vision is more about what we trust, faith, and not what we see as meeting our needs and our circumstances? What if he's enough? How could he prove that he is enough by giving you everything you want from your circumstances that you think will be enough? He can't. So he will not always meet every need the way that you expect them to be met so that you learn to trust him instead of that. This beautifully means that you can enter anything, a conversation, a diagnosis, a dream, a disappointment, not knowing what will happen, but knowing exactly who will be there and that he will prove himself true to himself in his love and power and sufficiency for you. My friends, that's real freedom. Changes everything. You can enter into anything, not knowing what will happen, but knowing exactly who he will prove himself to be in the process. You stay for the awkward silence because he is enough and you are okay. You resend, not resend, send again the hard email. I had to do that yesterday. You walk into the room where no one's inviting you or you don't feel accepted by anyone Because God's already with you in the hallway and walking in with you into the room, and you're getting to participate with him, not needing something from them. This is what it means to begin with the right end in mind, not control, not clarity of outcomes, but of Christ, clarity of Christ in you, the one and only hope of glory. Living with the right end in mind looks like this. I want to give you a different kind of vision. You risk vulnerability, knowing God is your defender. You're no less okay when others reject you. That's vulnerability. You can afford rejection, allows you to be vulnerable, which allows you to grow in trust and intimacy. And other people who can receive it move into that space with you. And those that can't cost you what God affords you. You can start small because his kingdom grows from seeds, not spotlights. You're not trying to be a big deal. You don't need to be a big deal. You don't need to cause big outcomes. You don't need to cause big footprints. You get to walk, leaving God-sized footprints as God sees fit, mostly in other people's lives. You release the timeline because grace never shows up late. You're not trying to make it happen on your terms. Golly, there's some things I thought I would have done by now in this life. And God's using him to cause me to trust him, and he may never let me do them. I'm increasingly okay with that, which I think is his only goal for me. You can move forward because trust doesn't wait for certainty. You can play all in all the time because you know he's got the outcome, and you can trust him even if you don't know what that outcome is. You don't need to know how this circumstance ends. You don't need to know how to bring about what you want in the relationship. You don't need to know how to bring about what you need in your finances. You don't need to know how to bring about what you're working on in your health or fitness. You don't have to be in control. You don't have to have the outcome you imagine. You just need to remember who does know how it ends, who knows the end from the beginning, and is working on something greater than you're pursuing him for most of the time. If it's circumstantial, then you're okay with or without it because you have him in it. We get to be a people who trust the end to the one who is the end for us because we trust him. You don't get to know his plan. You get to know his person. You get to know Christ. It's relational. So what kind of a people are we? We're not the ones with perfect plans. Is it wrong to plan, to Jan's question? Absolutely not. In fact, I'm a big planner. I've got reams. I don't have one within reach. I've got books and books and books and journals and journals and journals of plans and strategies. And I work with churches and ministry leaders about those plans, but we can align them with what God is revealing instead of trying to cause what we want from him in our circumstances. And then we can afford for him to redirect those things and trust that we get to know him as who he is, loving and sovereign and powerful, and his plan that we don't know is better than our plan that we imagine. We can know him and then be okay with whatever he does. It's a better way to plan. We're not the ones with perfect plans. Your plan will not be 100%. We're the ones with a perfect savior, a perfect person. We don't need a plot twist warning. Things are not going to go your way. Let me resolve that right now. Things are not going to go your way. We don't need a satisfying story arc to every circumstance. He's revealing himself to you. You think it's about your finances. It's about your faith. You think it's about your relationships with everyone, meeting your needs. And it's not about relational health. It's about divine hope. We need a kind of vision that starts every day with this. God will prove himself good to me. He will prove he is who he says he is. No matter how the circumstance is, God will be true to himself. and he's good, and he's good to me, and he loves me, and he's enough. God will prove himself to me no matter how the circumstance ends. I can afford this circumstance to be whatever it is, because what I want to know is Jesus Christ and him crucified in me and with me and through me and for me, so that I can be available in his sufficiency, not lacking in neediness of everything and everyone around me. We begin with grace in mind. We anticipate grace instead of striving to manifest and cause and believe in the outcomes that you think that you're in charge of, and you're not. You don't have to play God to enjoy God. He can be God for you just fine. We begin with grace in mind, because we already know how this story resolves with Jesus, with goodness, with glory, with us held in the middle of it with him, to the praise of the glory of his grace, not the greatness of the outcome that I pre-designed for him. Friends, you don't need to predict the outcomes. You don't need to like the process. You often will. You just need to remember, grace doesn't promise your process. It promises God in it every single time. One of the few guarantees is that you're going to have all kinds of trouble. That can't be not God's plan for you when he's sovereign over the trouble. You're going to have trouble, and he is greater than the world that's causing you the trouble. He's greater than the one in the world causing the trouble. In this world, you'll have trouble, but he's overcome the world, not by getting rid of it, but by being enough for you in it. And that's enough to begin again. It promises God in it. And so you are moving forward, anticipating grace, beginning with grace in mind, and the outcome will bring clarity of God. And today, and tomorrow, and this week, and next week, and next month, and next year, and for the next decade, my friends, you get to know him more and trust who he is, not just what you imagine he should do. I think that's the greatest maturity we can hope for. Let's stop buying into this manifesting, vibing mumbo jumbo of producing what you want for yourself as God, or from God as he's following your plan and intentions. How about we want to know what Paul wanted to know, that we might know him, even in attaining from the resurrection from the dead, that we might even fellowship with him in his suffering, becoming like him in death, that we might in every circumstance experience not the life we imagine, but the life he provides of intimate fellowship and dependence and sufficiency by grace to his glory again and again and again. Some of y'all know my story that I tell regularly. In fact, I went through it line by line, I think last summer, Stace and I in the Philippines. And I, as a young pastor, was determined to stick with the true rhetoric of God's a good father, and he's knows how to give good gifts to his kids. And he's going to bring about, health and safety for Stace and I. And as she's dying on a gurney in a tiny little hospital in the middle of nowhere after 5 days of struggle and sweat and crap and tears, and she's already gone and not yet quite gone. And I just finally gave up on the rhetoric and said, you say you're a good dad who knows how to give good gifts to your kids, but that's your child in there, and you're just squishing her like a bug. What's wrong with you? I just accused him because he didn't do what I thought he should do. And I was saying all the right things. I was doing all the right things. I was maintaining all the hope that he was going to bring about good results, until he didn't. You're just a jerk. And he said to me, as he rarely does, who are you to say I'm not who I say I am, because I don't do what you think I should do? He is no less loving because he doesn't fulfill your puppy love idealism. He is no less a good father because he doesn't give you what you want from him. He is no less who he says he is because he doesn't do what you think he should do. You are not the determiner of God. And I just agreed with him. I said, you're right. I just don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. You're right. So I went to Stace's bed as she's thrashing about in seizures and coma and 5 days of messiness I can't even describe, traipsing through the jungle. And I held her flailing body in my hands and pinned her down so I could speak into her face and said, you have a loving father. And I can't presume upon his plan. We can't presume upon his plan, but we can presume upon his character, right? His person. He will prove his love in this. He can't deny himself. So I kept thinking, God, if you love me, you're going to fix this. If I believe enough, you're going to fix this. If I'm trusting you and say all the right things until this thing is through, then I'm going to get the outcome that I want. And none of that is true. What is true is that God is love and he is loving you. And it won't always look like what you think, so that you have to trust him instead of him just placating your childish, give me the toy on the bottom of the Target shelf paradigm of love. Cake for breakfast every day is not a loving father's choice. And of course, many of y'all know the story. She woke up and looked right at me and tried to talk, and her brain swelling went down, and doctors were baffled, and he gave her back to me. But he got rid of my religious idealism. Maybe what you really want is not what God does, but God himself. Maybe what you need clarity of is who he is, not what you want him to do and how you can bring it about. Maybe your plans don't cause his activity, but move you forward in opportunities to trust him in intimacy. Maybe what God is doing is greater than what you're wanting. Maybe he's right about what will satisfy your soul, and it's him, not what you want from him. Maybe he loves you. Maybe he has a plan for you that is beyond your understanding. Maybe you get to know his divine life as your own as you trust him. My friends, as you know him today, you get to grow in grace. Not self-actualization and manifesting and vibing right with the universe. Come on, grow up. Let's grow up together. As you know him more and grow in grace, you will increasingly and calmly and overwhelmingly and overflowingly just love one another like crazy. It's not as tough as we make it. You don't have to be the one who earns and causes and produces what you want from this life. It's just easier than that. You just know Jesus. He's the I am of the moment. And he's the I am of what's next when you get there. Do what he's given you to do now, that you might know him here, and he can move you forward to what's next. He's got you. He really does. And you get to relax and trust and grow in relationship with him. What if what he wants is for you to trust him more and grow in intimacy in your experience of Christ as your life? What if that's the only end game for you? Then all of the circumstances serve that end. Let's begin with the grace of God in mind today. We're going to talk about another area. We talked about the divine empowerment of taking initiative yesterday, of being responsible and being engaged and being available for what God is giving you opportunity to participate in, instead of being worried about all the things that you don't get to participate in. And so we talked about that proactivity yesterday. Today we're talking about, the end in mind is Christ in you, which, by the way, is the beginning in mind. It's grace from beginning to end, Alpha and Omega, all the way from beginning to end. It's beginning with the grace in mind that is to his glory, that you get to share in, because you're already okay. You're not lacking for anything when you have the one who's controlling everything. And so we're going to continue to talk about this. We're going to talk about some other Coveyisms that I think are beautiful, but from a grace perspective, we get to redeem some of these principled ideas as relational constructs for our own healthy living in grace with Christ in you. And so that's what we're going to do. Can't wait to talk to you about it some more. Glad that y'all are here. Hey, come by the website. If you haven't been by MikeQDaniel.com, come by, leave a comment, share a prayer request, partner with us as a ministry so that we can reach more people with truth and freedom. We're just giving away the truth. We're just giving it away so we can give away more of the truth and freedom and life and peace and sufficiency of our relationship with God. Help us give it away. You can't pay for what you receive. You can never pay for what you receive, but you can help us by partnering to give it away for free to somebody else. And I would love for you to do that. Those of you who do that, thank you so much. Rob and Kelly and Donna and so Rich, so many others that are on the broadcast. Thank y'all so much for partnering with us. I love getting to do this with you, whether it's $15, $20 a month, or $1,500 a month. I love getting to do this with you. We are giving away as much as we can afford to do, and I sure do appreciate getting to do. I don't just appreciate it. I love getting to do this with you. Just thrills my soul beyond what I could ever imagine. It was the last thing I wanted to do, was to partner with people in order to give the truth away. I just wanted to be able to afford to do it. I wanted it to be my generosity and not yours. And you see how that would rob you of the very generosity that you get to participate in? If I could afford to do this full time without your help, then I would rob you of the opportunity to participate with me. Dan and Debbie, you guys, I love that you guys are involved in this with me. I never meant to. I had to apologize to God a few years ago. I said, I'm so sorry that I was trying to rob you of including more people in what you're calling me to do. I wanted it to be the Mike Daniel Show, and it's not. It's the Grace Tribe, not the Grace Dude. So anyway, love that you're here. If y'all want to be a part of this fellowship, and you are a part, but if you want to participate in partnering with us and helping to give it away, you can do that on the website. All of that is at MikeQDaniel.com. So come connect beyond the broadcast. We'd love to connect with you there. Have a fantastic day, guys. See ya